MCOMNet, second Monday at 7 p.m., W5FC. This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
We'll need to use the repeater before the 9 p.m. Skynet. This is KSI's My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control this evening. The session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? The directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Sends via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. It is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, Was Up, space exploration and space history, Constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 round. Amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to my alternate, Tom, KE5ICX. If you'll do the check-in honors, please, from KF5 TDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5 Indy Charlie X-ray. My name's Tom. I am the alternate net control station, and I will take in short time check-ins. If you are one of those, I'd like to hear from you now. Please come to your call sign, phonetically your name, where you're transmitting from. Short time only, please.
Kilo Charlie 5, Mike, Papa Oscar, Jamie, Mobile, downtown Dallas.
Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike, Thomas and Euless.
Okay, I've got KC5MTO, Jamie in Dallas, he's mobile downtown. In fact, KI5JCM, Thomas and Euless, those are my two short time check-ins. Anyone else short time, please come now. Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and ask my two stations checked in. If either of you have anything you'd like to bring to the net before you disappear into the ether, please come to your call now.
KI5JCM.
Yes, Thomas, go ahead.
I was going to mention I don't know how to vanish into the ether, but it sounds like a really cool trick I'd like to learn. Other than that, I'm still on my quest for the space station contact. Nothing else to share. KI5JCM back to net.
Okay, Thomas, yeah, I hear you there. It also sounds ominous, yes. And good luck with the contact on the ISS. You got to know they're going to be there, but good luck with that. Okay, well, with that, we'll go ahead and take general check-ins. If you are opposed, I'm going to take your check-ins now. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. General check-in.
Hello, Juliet 5, Delta Whiskey Alpha, Richard in Paris, Texas, on Echolink.
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, Mobile, John in Coppell.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha. My name is not General, but I'm Chaz, and I'm from the third rock from the sun, also in Mesquite.
Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Niner Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas, AG9SG.
Okay, there's a pause in the action. Let me get the folks I got. KJ5DWA, that would be Richard and Terrence. Welcome, Richard. K5JDW, John and Capel Mobile. K5JHA, Chaz from Third Rock from the Sun, and sometimes from Mesquite if they let them. AA5AH, Robert and Richardson. AG9SG, Antonio and Dallas. Additional check-ins, please.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4 MFI, Ted Dallas, low power.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda and Dallas. November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
November 5, Bravo, Bill and Irving.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay, Mississippi.
Kilo 5, Mike, Charlie Delta, Cody and Dallas, low power.
Let me go ahead and get those checked in. I got WB4 MFI, that's Ted Dallas, low power. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda in Dallas. NB5F Virginia, Fort Worth. N5BB Bill Irving. N5OF Clay in Mesquite. K5MCD Cody in Dallas, also low power. Come take additional check-in. Please come out. Okay, hearing none, let's go over to Echolink. If you're on Echolink and not already checked in, now's your chance. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. And if you're on Echolink, I, of course, will give you extra time. Please come out. Echolink only.
King 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato. Bill, Garland, W5DLT.
Okay, 5, 6,
Tango X-ray, telephone 4.
2.
Okay, I picked up two. There was a double, and it was a pretty nasty one, but I pulled one of the two of you out. I've got W5DLT, Bill and Garland, and I've got Kelly, K5KTX. I'll go ahead and open it up to anybody who'd like to check in. I know there is one out there. I just couldn't make out your call. Please come now.
This is Kilo India 5, Echo Golf Oscar. Pretty sure I was the double DC in Plano. Over.
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey Mobile, recheck.
good. I actually got a second double by picked you both up. KI5EGO, that's DC in Plano, and John, K5JDW. Go ahead with your G recheck.
Thanks, Tom. I just hope you saw the Mercury conjunction this morning. K5JDW.
Okay, John, you were a little weak into the repeater. You want to try again? I didn't quite make it out. I'm going to turn you up to 11 so I can hear you.
Thanks, Tom. I was saying I hope we will hear if anyone saw the Mercury conjunction later on in the program. K5JDW.
Yes. I'm sure Chaz has it in his presentation he did last week, so I think he will mention it this week as well. So stay tuned. When Chaz comes up with "Was Up" is when you'll find out about it. Okay, anyone else would like to check in any mode, please come now with your call sign, phonetically your name, where you're transmitting from.
Whiskey Foxtrot 5, Delta Romeo Delta, Dennis and Flower Mound.
Okay, we picked up WF5DRD, Dennis in Flower Mound. Welcome, and I hear a few new calls in there. Welcome to the net. We're glad you're here. We're here every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Central Time. So come on back again next week as well. Okay, Miss Billy, we're up to 19 check-ins. So back to you, KE5ICS.
Thank you, Tom, and copy that 19 checked in. So welcome to all who have checked in to Skynet. All right, let's get started with general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomy, or of general interest to licensed hams. If you have an announcement, come now with your call sign. Hearing any, so I'll go ahead with a few announcements. AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group, 2 nets available to Dallas residents. Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You'll need Echolink installed and you registered. This net originates in Houston. Dallas AMSAT Net East, Fort Worth, Texas is every 2 on this repeater, 146.880 megahertz. PL tone of 110.9. From N5HYP, the net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the DARC Club Night, so there is no AMSAT East net. AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 2 p.m. on the Arlington 47.140 megahertz with a PL tone of 110 offset. RC hosts several Monday night nets. The first Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's Net. This is a net where you can share recipes, pick up some new recipes, and questions and share anecdotes about. The second Monday of the month is M1, Emergency Communication. The third Monday of the month, come back for a second helping of Ham Fixin's Net. On the fourth Monday is Geek Net. And fifth Monday, which this month we do have a fifth Monday, is a surprise net. If we told you what it is, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation is encouraged. At East at 8 p.m., question and answers, info, and is CERT City simulation at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT train radio operators. The KI5GRH is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. Search City, all are welcome. And Saturdays is the Night of Net, with TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m., and of course at 9 p.m. Skynet, and following Skynet is the Afterglow movie, 10:30. More on that in just a minute. The first and third Sundays is the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. Daily is the ARRLNet National Traffic System Training Net every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. You're welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. Promise, following Skynet at 10:30 is the Afterglow Movie Net. For those new net, the way the Afterglow Movie Net works is we pick up back the following Saturday to discuss the movie. We discuss plot, characterization, special effects, movie score, and any other relevant information and trivia tidbits for that movie, and then the movie is announced at the end of the net to watch for the following week. This time I will return the net to Tom, KE5ICX, to give his highly accurate and award-winning synopsis of tonight's Afterglow info from KF5 PDF.
Oh, thank you, Billy, and I pride myself on making sure this is as accurate as is possible for me. So here it is. Derek never believed in UFOs until one day his neighbor, Fox Mulder, knocked on his door yelling at him. Did you see the article on alien abduction in Alien Abduction Monthly? Yeah, Derek saw it. Mulder had stolen his copy from the mailbox. Mulder was crazy, and everyone in the neighborhood knew it. However, the guy also produced a very fuzzy picture of a flying saucer taken by an Iowa farmer. No one else was around, no other witnesses, and no evidence. It was exactly the kind of thing aliens would do, fly around picking up livestock and farmers for their experiments, leaving zero evidence. It wasn't long before Derek was buying into Mulder's conspiracy theories. Join us for the old alien contact trope, UFO, tonight from 2018. Yes, there have been a lot of movies named UFO, but this one's from 2018, tonight at 10:30 p.m. By the way, if you have a master's or a doctorate in mathematics, this is your movie. Back to you, Billy. This is KE5 ICX.
Thank you very much, Tom. And recommendation, I find it intriguing, so I'll have to give that a look-see. So you can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. This is KF5CDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas event, where and when you can look. So at this time, I will turn that over to KF5JHA if you'll give us information about the Texas of Dallas from KF5 CDS.
Ooh, Dr. Billy qualifies for being one of those math folks. That's awesome. Maybe I need to hang around for this movie tonight. I've never watched it. Maybe I should, though. Slide Master, if you're on the slides tonight, that would be Tom. Slide 1. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, February the 24th. There was one last night. If you missed it, oh well. February 24th is the next one. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is going to be Dr. Renee James, talking about things that go bump in the universe. That could be very interesting. Now, public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights, so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. Tonight is a fourth Saturday, and on the fourth Saturday, the stargazing is held in Rockwall. It was confirmed at the meeting last night. They were probably pretty sure they're going to do it. Glenn Fitzgerald, who's an ham radio operator, is the one who runs that. Now, Lynn or anybody else at the Rockwell Stargazing, if they're still there, come now if you'd like to make a report with your call sign.
KF5PLL, Huey, Richardson, Texas. Glenn Fitzgerald sent out a notice that the Rockwell Star Party was canceled. Back to that.
Thank you, Huey. I wasn't sure what time it cleared tonight, so it's clear outside right now. I looked up and saw Jupiter and everything else around it just a few minutes ago, but oh well, I'm sorry, it was canceled. Thank you, Huey. Now, if you'd like, you can get more information from the Texas Astronomical Society. To go to their website, texasastro.org. That'll give you up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing stations. And this is KF5 JHA. Turning it back to our net control, I'm reading over there in Echolink. Billy, it's yours, KF5 PDS. This is KF5 JHA.
Thank you very much, Kaz. All right, next up is the National Space Society events and activities. So at this time, I will turn the net over to Bill, N5BB, if you'll give us information about the National Space Society from KF5 PDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership director and member-at-large of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society, a nonprofit group interested in things that humans do in space, like send probes to other planets and send humans to the moon. We have meetings on the second Sunday of every month. So this last Sunday was our last meeting. Our next meeting will be on Saturday, February the 11th. And normally our meetings are at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving at the corner of 183 and Beltline. The meetings start at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. I don't know what the topic of the next meeting is going to be. But we have various events coming up. There's one event we do on the last Friday of every month. This is a social event. Anybody's invited. That's right. You can come even if somebody came last night that was not a member. Our January last Friday of the month was last night. So we meet at 6 p.m. at Cheddar's Restaurant on Highway 635 in Irving. This is, I think, about 4 miles west of I-35, between MacArthur and Bush Turnpike. It's on the south frontage road of 635. But there's only one Cheddar's Restaurant in Irving, so you can find it easily with a search. And we meet at 6 p.m., 6 to about 8. And we usually have about 8 to 10 people at these meetings, which are pretty neat. And like I say, we had a visitor last night that was not a member of our group, that heard about it on Meetup and came and participated. It was real fun. And last night we talked about the National Space Society sponsored tour of the Kennedy Space Center a couple of weeks ago. I was there, and I spoke about it last week on Skynet. So I had various things, pictures and things I brought back, books and other things. Okay, other things we have coming up from the National Space Society. On January the 31st, this coming Wednesday, the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics at the University of Texas at Dallas. That student group will have their spring kickoff meeting on Wednesday, January 31st from 7 to 9 p.m. at UTD, and National Space Society will be there with materials. On Saturday, February 3rd, there is a Dallas Independent School District STEM Expo at K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center in downtown Dallas. National Space Society local chapter will be there with information, answering kids' questions about space, things humans doing in space, and probes and things. Then, on the following Saturday, February the 10th, there will be a science fair at the Harmony Science Academy in Garland. It's an elementary school. And we will be there also. Then the following Saturday, there's a lot going on Saturdays, February the 17th, the Dallas Regional Science and Engineering Fair will be at Fair Park in downtown Dallas, and I believe I will be a judge at it for the National Space Society. So, a lot of activities going on with the National Space Society here the remainder of January and in February. If you have any questions about the National Space Society or our local chapter, you can reach me. Bill, N5BB, November 5 Bravo Bravo, at ARRL.net, or space, you can email me at SPACE at Byrom.net, SPACE at BYROM.net. I'll be glad to answer any of your questions, tell you how you can join the National Space Society, etc. Thank you very much. This is N5BB, back to net.
Thank you very much, Bill. And just also want to add that the National Space Society of North Texas has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box and request access. You'll receive meeting reminders and club activities. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is discussion topic of the evening. So for tonight, I have chosen the NASA's Intuitive Machines 1 mission. This information can be found on the NASA Space Science Data Coordinated Archive, nssdc.gsfc.nasa.gov. So the Intuitive Machines 1 mission, IM1 or TO2-IM mission objective is to place a lander called Nova C at crater Malapert A near the south pole of the moon. The commercially built lander will carry 5 NASA payloads and commercial cargo. The scientific objectives of the mission include studies of plume surface interactions, radio astronomy, and space weather interactions with the lunar surface. It will also be demonstrating precision landing technologies and communication and navigation node capabilities. IM-1 was selected through NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services CLPS initiative, in which NASA contracts with a commercial partner, in this case Intuitive Machines, that provides the launch and lander. Nova C lander is a hexagonal cylinder 4 meters tall and 1.5 meters wide on 6 landing legs with a launch mass of 1,908 kilograms. It is capable of carrying approximately 100 kilograms of payload to the surface. It uses solar panels to generate 200 watts of power on the surface using a 25 amp-hour battery and a 28 VDC system. Propulsion and landing use liquid methane as fuel and liquid oxidizer powering a 3,100 Newton main engine mounted on the bottom of the lander. Communications are via S-band. The scientific payload includes navigation Doppler LiDAR, the Lunar Node Navigation Demonstrator LN1, stereo cameras for Lunar Plume Surface Studies, SCA-LPSS, and radio wave observation of the lunar surface of the photoelectron sheet, OLSCS. total, 5 NASA and 4 commercial. Earth orbit, 100 kilometer lunar orbit. The lander will land on the moon at Malapert A crater near the South Pole. The lander is capable of operating for about 14 Earth days in sunlight. So for more information on NASA's CLTS initiative and missions, you can go to science.nasa.gov/lunar-discovery/deliveries. And Dr. Susan Lederer is the project scientist at NASA Johnson Space Center. So there's some interesting and exciting information about the Intuitive Machines 1 mission, so stay tuned and keep an eye on that for next month. This is KF5TDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Right, next up is Was Up, but before we turn the net over to Chaz, I'm going to turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX. If you'll do a quick check-in round and see if there's anybody online that would like to, on frequency, that would like to check in, and then you have my permission to turn the net directly over to Chaz after the check-in round. So this is to KE5ICX from KF5TDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is KE5ICX. I'll do exactly that. Do we have any additional check-ins? Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Golf 5, Zulu, Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
Okay, we picked up one. We've got Kilo Golf 5, Zulu, Mike Golf. That's Joe over in Arlington. Welcome back, Joe. Okay, Chaz, KF5JHA, you're the man. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Billy, too. Slide Master, Tom. Slide number 2, please. This segment of Skynet was up because it's all about what's going on. Slide number 3, please. January 25th, the moon was full. So the current phase of the moon is a waning gibbet. On January the 29th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 405,777 kilometers. On February the 2nd, the moon phase is the third quarter. On February the 9th, the moon will be new. On February the 10th, the moon is at perigee, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 358,088 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 4. Well, this morning we were supposed to have a conjunction of Mercury and Mars in the southeastern morning sky. It happened, but I didn't see it, and I don't think anybody in North Texas saw it because of the clouds. So the report is we didn't see it, but someone else probably did. Slide Master, slide number 5. There's a conjunction on January the 28th. Oh, wait, that is tomorrow morning. Looks like it could be clear, of the moon and the minor planet Juno in the eastern sky. So you might want to take a look at that. That's going to be in the eastern evening sky, yes. Slide Master, slide number 6. The conjunction of February the 1st of the moon and the star Spica in the southern morning sky. Slide Master number 7. The conjunction of the moon and Ceres, that's an asteroid, a minor planet, on February the 5th in the the southeastern morning sky. I know, there's a lot of things rapid fire there in a row. Slide number 8. on March the 24th, 25th, there's going to be a penumbral eclipse of the moon. The Earth's shadow has two parts, a darker part called the umbra and the lighter part called the penumbra. Around 90% of the, around 96% of the moon will go into the penumbra during this eclipse, and the moon's brightness will only be slightly dimmed. The eclipse begins 11:53 p.m. Central Daylight Time. That's on March the 24th. At 12:14 a.m. on March 25th, it will be the maximum of the eclipse. About 96% of the moon is going to be inside the penumbra. And then by 4:32 a.m. Central Daylight Time, the eclipse ends when the moon leaves the penumbra. Slide, Master, slide number 9, please. Now remember, we have a solar eclipse coming up in about 2 months. Now, a solar eclipse is when the moon is in between the Earth and the Sun, and for a few very lucky people on the Earth's surface, it blocks some or all of the Sun from our view. Slide Master, slide number 10. On April the 8th, 2024, just in a couple of months, this is a total solar eclipse for us here in North Texas. From the Brookhaven campus, the sun will be completely blocked out for around 3 minutes and 20 seconds between 1:41 and 1:44 p.m. During that time, called totality, you'll be able to see stars in the sky just like it were evening twilight. Won't be completely dark like night, but it's going to be like a twilight. Now, the next total solar eclipse after that, visible from North Texas, won't be until the year 2317 on July the 9th. So make sure you put that on your calendar. July the 9th, 2317, next total solar eclipse here in North Texas. So you understand that this coming up, April the 8th, total solar eclipse is a very big deal for North Texas because it only happens about once every 300 years on average. Wow. Already the downtown hotels in Dallas are booked solid. We're expecting millions, and I mean millions plural, of people coming from all over the, well, not just the United States, but all over the world, to the Dallas area to view this eclipse. It's going to be busy. All 7 campuses of the Dallas College will have observing activities going on. Wow. We're going to have lots of people. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 11. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any information, or you just have a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill.
Cell number 5.
Well, I heard you were kind of scratchy, neighbor, but go ahead, Clay. Go ahead. What's your question?
Yes, Dad. In regard to getting the right kind of glasses to view the sun, what are your suggestions for us for some good places to go look for that? Over.
Well, all of the county, all of Dallas County will be able to see the total solar eclipse. What you need to do is have proper viewing to be able to do it. You can get solar eclipse glasses from various places online. The biggest place that sells solar eclipse glasses is Rainbow Symphony, but we just heard a report that they're completely sold out. They're manufacturing as fast as they can, but they have orders that they hopefully can fill before the eclipse happens. So I'm not sure where you're going to find the proper protection that will look at the sun. Number 14 Wilder's filters would work for looking at the sun correctly. But again, those are in high demand right now too. So we are going to have eclipse viewers on each one of our campuses that will have people sharing to look at the sun properly. And we have special telescopes that will be set up on each campus as well. Clay, did I answer your question?
Yeah, just that's fine. Yeah, it just seems like you just have to go look around and hopefully find something.
Sounds good. For us, here in Mesquite, you can go to the Eastfield campus. I know they're going to have a good telescope there because I delivered it back in October. So they'll have eclipse glasses, and they'll have a good telescope, and they should have some other observing activities for the eclipse. Thank you very much, Clay. Slide Master, slide number 12. So as the moon is waning, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, and pray for our world. It's the other one where humans live. Until next time, well, actually, I'll be doing another segment in Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JHR sending it back to our net control, KF5 PDS. Billy, it's back to you.
Thanks very much, Chaz. And it was mentioned over in the chat that NASA has a list of glasses. Attempting to view the solar eclipse. So, Clay, maybe you can do a Google search on NASA-approved solar eclipse glasses and more information there on where to purchase them. And do be careful that you also don't buy any knockoffs. Investigate thoroughly to make sure that they are NASA, so that you don't get an inferior pair of glasses, because these are your eyes and you must exercise caution when looking at the sun. Don't look at the sun with your naked eyes, but also you want to make sure that you use the proper, mentioned the number 14 well. Next up is space exploration and space history. At this time, I will turn that over to Kelly, K5KTX, and perhaps she might have more information where you can find that list. Yes.
Thank you, Billy, and thanks for providing that information. Yes, just do a Google search for NASA's approved list of suppliers for eclipse glasses. The main thing that you want to look for is that they need to meet the ISO standard of 12312-2. It's an international standard, and of course, you know, some of the fake ones could print that on there. But I think if you will go and for their list, and they will provide direct links to the suppliers, and I think Rainbow Symphony is on there. You have there's quite a few that are listed there, so that would be my recommendation as well. All right, so moving on to space exploration for this week. Well, NASA's history-making Ingenuity Mars helicopter has ended its mission at the Red Planet after surpassing expectations and making dozens more flights than planned. While the helicopter remains upright and in communication with ground controllers, imagery of its January 18th flight sent to Earth this week indicates one or more of its rotor blades sustained damage during landing, and it is no longer capable of flight. Originally designed as a technology demonstration to perform up to 5 experimental test flights over 30 days, the first aircraft on another world operating from the Martian surface flew more than 14 times farther than planned while logging more than 2 hours of total flight time. Ingenuity landed on Mars February the 18th, 2021, attached to the belly of NASA's Perseverance rover, and first lifted off the Martian surface on April 19th, proving that powered, controlled flight on Mars was possible. After notching another 4 flights, it embarked on a new mission as an operations demonstration, serving as an aerial scout for Perseverance, scientists, and rover drivers. In 2023, the helicopter executed 2 successful flight tests that further expanded the team's knowledge of its aerodynamic limits. Over an extended mission that lasted for almost 1,000 Martian days, more than 33 times longer than originally planned, Ingenuity was upgraded with the ability to autonomously choose landing sites in treacherous terrain, dealt with a dead sensor, cleaned itself after dust storms, operated from 48 different airfields, performed 3 emergency landings, and survived a frigid Martian winter. Designed to operate in spring, Ingenuity was unable to power its heaters throughout the night during the coldest parts of winter, resulting in the flight computer periodically freezing and resetting. These power brownouts required the team to redesign Ingenuity's winter operations in order to keep flying. Ingenuity's team planned for the helicopter to make a short vertical flight on January the 18th to determine its location after executing an emergency landing on its previous flight. Data shows that, as planned, the helicopter achieved a maximum altitude of 40 feet and hovered for 4.5 seconds before starting its descent at a velocity of 3.3 feet per second. However, about 3 feet above the surface, Ingenuity lost contact with the rover, which serves as a communications relay for the rotorcraft. The following day, communications were reestablished and more information about the flight was relayed to ground controllers at NASA JPL. Imagery revealing damage to the rotor blade arrived several days later. The cause of the communications dropout and the helicopter's orientation at the time of touchdown are still being investigated. With flight operations now concluded, the Ingenuity team will perform final tests on helicopter systems and download the remaining imagery and data in Ingenuity's onboard memory. The Perseverance rover is currently too far away to attempt to image the helicopter at its final airfield. The U.S. Postal Service has issued 2 new priority mail stamps celebrating NASA's James Webb Space Telescope, the largest, most powerful, and most complex telescope ever put in space. The stamps, issued January the 22nd, feature images of the cosmos captured by Webb since it began its science mission in 2022. The first of the new stamps, a Priority Mail Express stamp, features Webb's NIRCam, or near-infrared camera, image of the cosmic cliff in the Carina Nebula, located roughly 7,600 light-years away. The image shows emerging stellar nurseries and individual stars that were previously hidden from sight. This scene was one of the first full-color images revealed from Webb in July 2022, demonstrating the telescope's ability to peer through cosmic dust and shed new light on how stars form. The other stamp, a Priority Mail stamp, features an image of the pillars of creation captured by Webb's MIRI, or mid-infrared instrument. Webb's look at this familiar landscape, which was first made famous by NASA's Hubble Space Telescope, shows pillars flush with gas and dust, enshrouding stars that are slowly forming over many millennia. The pillars of creation is set within the vast Eagle Nebula, which lies 6,500 light-years away. In space history for this past week, beginning with January 22nd, 1968, assembled atop a Saturn 1B rocket, the Apollo Lunar Module, LM, had its first test flight. The mission, designated Apollo 5, launched to low Earth orbit for an 11-hour and 10-minute series of tests. Following nose cone jettison, the LM separated from its LM adapter to begin a series of burns designed to simulate lunar descent and abort scenarios. The nearly half-day mission was deemed a success, bringing NASA another step closer to landing humans on the moon. January the 24th, 1986, Voyager 2, the first human-made object to fly by Uranus, made its closest approach on this day in 1986 at a range of about 50,640 miles. During its journey, Voyager 2 discovered 10 new moons, including Ophelia and Cordelia, named after the characters of William Shakespeare. Our one flyby so far yielded an amazing harvest of new information about this mysterious planet. This included reported wind speeds in the atmosphere of 450 miles per hour. And also on January 24th, back in 2004, after nearly a 7-month-long journey, Mars exploration rover Opportunity landed on the red planet. Originally, scientists had planned that Opportunity would explore the Martian terrain for 90 days. But the rover ended up with an extended stay, and the mission lasted until February 13th, 2019. In its time on Mars, Opportunity collected evidence that long ago the planet had conditions that could have supported microbial life. On this day, January 27th, 1967, we lost 3 members of the NASA family in a flash fire during a ground test before the first planned Apollo mission. Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee were rehearsing for the planned launch on February 21st when a fire swept through the command module. They died within seconds. In the aftermath of this tragedy, a thorough analysis and review of all aspects of the Apollo program was conducted. The Accident Review Board determined an electrical arc in an equipment bay started the fire, which engulfed the high-pressure, pure oxygen-filled capsule in seconds. The review and investigation led to major changes in the Apollo system design, operations, management, and procedures. These changes made the Apollo spacecraft safer and allowed for the successful completion of 6 missions to the surface of the Moon and safe operations of the Apollo system until it was retired after the 1975 Apollo-Soyuz mission. One of the many changes in response to the tragedy was the creation of an independent Office of Flight Safety and a personal dedication to safety that still inspires all of the NASA families today. This past week, several astronauts celebrated their birthday. Beginning January 21st, 1950, Joseph Tanner, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-66, 82, 97, and 115. January 22nd, 1955, Thomas David Jones, Space Shuttle missions STS-59, 68, 80, and 98. January 23rd, 1930, William Pogue, who was on Skylab 4. January 23rd, 1943, Robert Cabana, who is KC-5HBV, and he was on Space Shuttle missions STS-41, 53, 65, 88. He is currently the Deputy Administrator of NASA and formerly the Director of the Kennedy Space Center. January 23rd, 1973, Kjell Lindgren, who is KO-5MOS. He was part of the Expedition 44-45 crew, and he also flew on the SpaceX Crew 4, which was Expedition 67 and 68. Rounding out astronaut birthdays, January 23rd, 1974, Jack Fisher, K2FSH. 24th, 1952, William Reedy, Space Shuttle missions STS-42, 51, and 79. And January 26th, 1952, Mario Ronco Jr., Space Shuttle missions STS-44, 54, and 77. And that's tonight. Back to you, Billy. This is K5. Yes.
Thank you very much, Kelly. All right, this is KF5 PDS. Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. But before we go back over to Taz, I will once again return the net to Tom, KE5ICX. If you'll do a quick check-in round, see if there's anyone on Echolink or on frequency that would like to check in, and then you have my permission to turn over to Taz. So this is to KE5ICX. From KF5 PDS.
This is KE5ICX alternate net control this evening. I'll go ahead and ask for additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening and have not checked in yet, please do so now. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo Delta 5, Kilo X-Ray Golf, Clayton, and Sunnyvale, no traffic.
Okay, we picked up one more, I believe, Kilo Delta Will X-Ray Golf. That's Clay. Clay, where did you say? I think I got your name correct. Your name and location again, please?
Sunnyvale, Texas. Kilo Delta 5, Kilo X-Ray Golf.
Very good, Clay, over in Sunnyvale. Welcome. A lot of new people this evening. We appreciate you checking in. Okay, we're going back to Chaz, KF5JHA. What do you have for us on Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week?
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Billy. Slide Master, slide number 13. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week is named in honor of Silent T. Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Now, since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen over Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week this week is something none of you have ever heard of before. Orion the Hunter. Orion is the mighty hunter of ancient Greek mythology. There are various stories connected with him, but the best known is probably the story about how he was such a good hunter that he boasted that he had dominion over all living creatures. Hera, or Juno in the Roman version of the story, sent a deadly scorpion to punish him for his arrogant pride, and the scorpion's sting killed him. However, he was honored with a place in the heavens where you see him on a clear, crisp winter night, like tonight. You can go out there and take a look at them. The scorpion was also honored and placed exactly opposite Orion in the sky as the constellation of Scorpius. With Orion rising as Scorpius sets and vice versa, the two will never fight again. And Slide Master, slide number 14 is next. The most important part of Skynet, the jokes of the week. Now, during the Astronomy Club meetings, and I go through these jokes, I usually give a round of applause for Steve and Christy, so you're welcome to do the same thing. So here we go. Orion's belt is the big waste of space. Fill in the blank. It only has a rating of 3 stars. Orion ordered a belt off of Amazon. It wasn't to his liking, so he decided to leave a review, and it reads, "This belt looks wonderful, but it doesn't fit well, and I can't adjust it easily, so I only give it 3 stars." Okay, both those jokes are somewhere, aren't they? What did Orion receive after losing a bullfighting competition? A Constellation Prize. Who's the worst superhero? Because, of course, you know, Orion's a superhero. Who's the worst superhero? Vacuum Man. Because he sucks. Okay, that's funny. What do you want to learn? If you want to learn how to draw superheroes, start with Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. You know why? Because he's just a stick figure. And the final one for this evening, a supervillain said, "Why is my calendar wrapped in aluminum?" And I said, "I foiled your plans." Oh, come on, that was the best one, wasn't it? Slide Master, slide number 15, please. famous star in Orion called Betelgeuse, or Betelgeuse. Just don't say that name and that pronunciation 3 times in a row. It's also called Alpha Orionis. The name comes from the Arabic meaning of armpit of the central one, or armpit of the mighty one. Betelgeuse is a magnitude 0.7 red supergiant star of a spectral type M2. It is believed to be about 520 light years away. It's so large that if our sun were replaced by Betelgeuse, or Betelgeuse, it would be swallowed up by the entire orbits of Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. It may almost reach out to the orbit of Jupiter. It is one of the largest stars known, and may be the largest naked eye star that you can see. It is so large that even at its distance, it can be perceived as a tiny little disk instead of a point of light by our largest and best telescopes. Because of this, sunspots, actually star spots, have been detected on Betelgeuse. It is interesting that Orion's mortal enemy, Scorpius, has a quite similar star, Antares, and it is also a red supergiant and is believed to only be slightly smaller than Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse is an irregular variable star with a period of roughly about 5.7 years. We saw its minimum just a little while ago. It has been observed to be as bright as 0.2 magnitude and as faint as 1.2. It also grows and shrinks significantly as it pulses. I was talking about this just 2 years ago in 2020. Actually, it was 4 years ago. It was at a deep minimum of about 1.37 magnitude, which is the dimmest that it's been in over 25 years. There could be a conjecture that some light, that it could be because of Betelgeuse going, possible that it was because of a dust cloud between here and Betelgeuse. Slide master, slide number 16, please. Another star, Rigel. The name Rigel comes from the old Arabic phrase that translates to the left leg of the giant. Rigel is the B8 blue-white supergiant and is estimated to be about 900 light years away at magnitude 0.14. It is the 7th brightest star in the sky. Rigel is a double star. The small bluish companion is at magnitude 6.7, and Burnham's Celestial Handbook notes that it can be seen in a good 6-inch telescope and may even be able to be glimpsed in a 3-inch telescope under ideal conditions. Since it was first measured in 1831, no change in position has been detected between Rigel and its companion. Alnitak is one of the stars in Orion's belt. It means girdle, and is appropriate since it is the easternmost of the 3 stars in Orion's belt. Alnitak is a blue-white star with a spectral class straddling on the border between O and B, specifically either an O9 or a B0 type star. Its magnitude is 1.79 and is estimated to be 1,600 light years away. It is a triple star system. Mintaka is the westernmost of the 3 stars in Orion's belt. It's a widely separated double star system that is easily split, and we look at it on a regular basis at the Brookhaven campus with the astronomy students. So this is one of the objects that we do observe during these sessions. I hope we can do that again, maybe even this coming Wednesday during our regular observing sessions. And this is KF5, JHA, and the team. Messier object M42. Much has been written and said about M42, the Great Orion Nebula. It is one of the most finest showpiece objects in all of the sky. It was the first deep sky object that I tried to photograph, and I sort of got it a little bit. Even though M42 is the Bright Emission Nebula, it is on the Dark Nebula Observing Club list because of intervening portions of the Dark Nebula is the northeastern portion of M42, called the Fish's Mouth. It's also seen the structure referring to the Dark Bay. Just beyond the deepest part of the Dark Bay lies our next object, the Trapezium star cluster, or star group. Slide master, slide number 18. The Trapezium, Theta 1 Orionis, is a multiple star system. in the heart of the great Orion Nebula. It is the ionizing ultraviolet radiation of these stars that causes the gas in the nebula to glow through the fluorescence. The 4 brightest stars in the trapezium are fairly easy and are just about any decent telescope can be seen. The 4 brightest stars are featured by letters A, B, C, and D. These 4 are ordered by right ascension and not magnitude. The brightest star is C. It's at magnitude 5.4. The faintest of the 4 is B, and it's at 8th magnitude. There are more stars than these, though. Star E was discovered in 1826 by Struve. It's 11th magnitude star. Star F is also an 11th magnitude. It was found by John Herschel in 1830. Star G was discovered in 1888 by A.G. Clark with his 36-inch refractor at Lick Observatory. It's a very dim 16th magnitude. Finally, Star H was discovered later that same year by Edward Emerson Barnard. H is actually a double star with 2 components separated by 1.3 arcseconds. Both are being about 16th magnitude. G and H require a very large aperture telescope in order to be seen visually. Slide Master, slide number 19. An object in the New General Catalog, NGC 1981, is an open cluster just above Orion's sword. It is 1 degree north of the Great Nebula, well, the Great Orion Nebula, called M42. It is a loose, coarse cluster consisting of about 50 stars, with 6 of the stars being much brighter than the rest, in 2 curving rows of 3 stars each, with the eastern row being the brighter of the 2. And this is KF5, JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 20, please. There are a few more, actually quite a few more, Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Orion the Hunter. I've skipped several interesting stars and objects like the Horsehead Nebula, the Flame Nebula, the Running Man Nebula, but time limits what I can do here on Skynet. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 77 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year. Slide Master, slide number 21, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Orion the Hunter. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now next time we'll take a look at Lepus, Lepus, the hare or the rabbit. And I'm so thankful that Bob the cat is beside the computer and not jumping on the computer to chase the rabbit. And this is KF5JJ sending it back to our net control Billy. KF5PDS, it's all yours. 73, everyone.
Thank you very much, Chaz. Yeah, so many things to see in Orion. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. For the week, so at this time, return then to Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll tell us what space launches are coming up from KF5PDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is KE5ICX. So, what do we have? Well, a bunch of Falcon 9 launches, of course, as we do every week. All the information I get comes from spaceflightnow.com/launch schedules. You can look these things up as well. January 28th, that's tomorrow, will be a launch of Starlink 6-38 from Launch Complex 39 in Kennedy. Falcon 9 rocket will launch another batch, second generation Starlink V2 mini internet satellite. First stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. January 30th will be the NG-20 mission. This will launch from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Falcon 9 rocket will launch Northrop Grumman's 21st Cygnus cargo freighter on its 20th operational cargo delivery flight to the International Space Station. The mission is known as NG-20. The launch vehicle for this mission was changed from Northrop Grumman's own Antares 230 Plus rocket to SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket after the Russian invasion of Ukraine ended the engine and booster production of the Antares program. By the way, you can go to SpaceX.com and get a lot of information about that, the whole procedure that was used in order to modify the Falcon 9 rocket. It's quite fascinating. Next up, on February 6th, Falcon 9 launch will be SLC-40 from Cape Canaveral. This time it will launch a massive plankton aerosol cloud ocean ecosystem mission, or PACE. The spacecraft is equipped with instruments to access the health of oceans by measuring the distribution of phytoplankton, tiny plants, and algae. Then we have the IM-1 mission from which we just had a presentation from Billy on Launch Complex 39A from Kennedy. The IM-1 mission with the Nova C lander, built and operated by Intuitive Machines, will attempt to deliver a suite of scientific payloads to the surface of the moon for NASA's Commercial Payload Services program, which we also talked about. Next up, Falcon 9 mission, USSF-124. This will launch from SLC-40 out of Cape Canaveral. The Falcon 9 launch mission for the U.S. Space Force and Missile Defense Agency. No additional information is available. Then we have to be determined. Here is a manned mission with a crew of 8. Launch Complex 39A from Kennedy. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch a Crew Dragon spacecraft on a program's 13th flight with astronauts. The Falcon 9 first station booster will land in Landing Zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. Astronauts Matthew Dominic, Michael Merritt, Jeanette Epps, along with Roscosmos astronaut Alexander Krebenkin, will launch on a Crew Dragon spacecraft to begin a 6-month expedition to the International Space Station. The Crew Dragon will return to splash down at sea off the coast of Florida. So you got a couple more. USSF-51 will be launching on the SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral. The Atlas V rocket, designated AV-101, will launch the USSF-51 mission for the U.S. Space Force. No other information on that one. We have Viasat-3 EMEA launching. This is from Cape Canaveral. SLC-41. The United States Alliance Atlas V rocket, designated AV-100, will launch the Viasat-3 EMEA broadband communication satellite. It's the second of at least 3 new generation Boeing-built geostationary satellites from Viasat EMEA. It'll cover Europe, Middle East, and the African region. Sometime in April, the Atlas V launch. This will be the CST-100 Starliner crew flight test. There's no launch time yet established or a date. However, it will launch from SLC-41 in Cape Canaveral. The Boeing CST-100 Starliner spacecraft for its first mission with astronauts, known as the Crew Test Flight to the International Space Station. The capsule will dock at the space station and return to Earth for landing in the western United States. NASA boosters and dual engine Centaur upper stage. And there you have it. Very busy space launches coming up over the next few weeks. Back to you, Billy. This is KE5 ICS.
Thanks very much, Tom. All right, next up is recent astronomical discoveries. So at this time, I will turn the net over to Brenda, WB5L. The net is yours from KF5TDS.
Thanks, Billy. This is WB5OZL. This article is entitled Moon Rocks with Unique Dust Found. Our Earth's moon is almost completely covered in dust. Unlike on Earth, this dust is not smooth by wind and weather, but is sharp-edged and also electrostatically charged. This dust has been studied since the Apollo era at the end of the 1960s. Now, an international research team led by Dr. Ottaviano Rouge from the University of Munster has, for the first time, discovered anomalous meteor-sized rocks on the lunar surface that are covered in dust and presumably exhibit unique properties such as magnetic anomalies. The scientists' most important finding is that only very few boulders on the moon have a layer of dust with very special reflective properties. For example, the dust on these newly discovered boulders reflects sunlight differently than on previously known rocks. These new findings help scientists to understand the processes that form and change the lunar crust. The results of the study have been published in the Journal of Geophysical Research. Planets. It is known that there are magnetic anomalies on the lunar surface, particularly near a region called Orion Gamma. However, the question of whether rocks can be magnetic has never been investigated. Current knowledge of the moon's magnetic properties is very limited, so these new rocks will shed light on the history of the moon and its magnetic core, says Viano Rush of the Institute for Planetology, categorizing the discovery. For the first time, we have investigated the interactions of dust with rocks in the Orion Gamma region. More precisely, the variations in the reflective properties of these rocks. For example, we can deduce to what extent and in which direction the sunlight is reflected by these large rocks. The images were taken by NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter spacecraft, which orbits the moon. The research team was originally interested in cracked rocks. They first used artificial intelligence to search through around 1 million images for fractured rocks. These images were also taken by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. Modern data processing methods allow us to gain completely new insights into global contexts. At the same time, we keep finding unknown objects in this way, such as the anomalous rocks that we are investigating in this new study, says Valentine Bickel from the Center for Space and Habitability of the University of Bern. The research algorithm identified around 130,000 interesting rocks, half of which were scrutinized by the scientists. We recognized a boulder with distinctive dark areas on just one image. This rock was very different from all the others, as it scatters less light back towards the sun than other rocks. We suspect this is due to the particular dust structure, such as the density and grain size of the dust. Otto Viano Rush explains. Normally, lunar dust is very porous and reflects a lot of light back in the direction of illumination. However, when the dust is compacted, the overall brightness usually increases. This is not the case with the observed dust-covered rocks, adds Marcel Hess from TU Dortmund University. This is a fascinating discovery. However, the scientists are still in the early stages of understanding this dust and its interactions with the rock. In the coming weeks and months, the scientists want to further investigate the processes that lead to the interactions between dust and rocks and to the formation of the special dust structure. These processes include, for example, the lifting of the dust due to electrostatic charging or the interaction of the solar wind with local magnetic fields. In addition to numerous other international unmanned space missions to the moon, NASA will be sending an automatic rover, a mobile robot, to the Orion Gamma region
Saturday,
in the coming years to find similar types of boulders with special dust. A dream of the future. A better understanding of dust movement can help with the planning of human settlements on the moon. I had a pop-up cover things up, and and there's only about a paragraph left, so we're going to cut it off there. This is WB50ZL. This is from ScienceDaily.com.
Thanks very much, Brenda. All right, next up is visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. So at this time, I'll return that to Tom, KE5ITX, if you'll give us information. Visible satellite passages from KF5TDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is KE5ICX again, and we have a few passes. Finally, International Space Station has 3 good passes. We've got one on February 1st. This will be a minus 3.1 magnitude at 19:43 in the evening as the northwest reaches highest point 54 degrees at 19:46, and it'll fall into shadow at that highest point, 1946. Then on February 2nd, we get a nice full pass. This one's minus 3.7 magnitude at 1855. Out of the northwest, reaches highest point at 59 degrees at 1859, and it'll fall to the east at 1901. Then on February 4th, minus 2.0 magnitude, 1856 in the evening once again. Reaches highest point at 34 degrees at 1859, and it will fall to the south-southeast at 1902. The Tiangong Space Station also has a couple of passes. We have on February 3rd, minus 0.9 magnitude at 6:28 in the morning. It'll reach its highest point at 40 degrees at 6:31, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 6:34. Then on February 5th, we have minus 2.2 magnitude. This is a great pass at 6:03 in the morning at 38 degrees. Reaches its highest point at 6:04:50 at 80 degrees, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 6:07. And that's it. Those are the primary cast. MDSAT is still in shadow, so nothing to report there. Back to you, Billy, KE5ICX.
Thanks very much, Tom. All right, we have a couple minutes, so let's do some astronomical Q&A, see if anybody has any questions. So if there's anyone out there with an astronomical question, we have very knowledgeable folks on frequency, so please come now with your call sign if you have an astronomical question. So I'll return the net to Tom one more time to do a final check-in round that would just like to get in and check in for this evening's net to wrap it up. So Tom, if you would do a final check-in round and get me a final count for this, appreciate it. So this is to ICX from KFI TDS.
This is KE5ICX. We'll go ahead and take our final round of check-ins. If you haven't done so already, now's your opportunity to check in. So please come with your call, your name, and where you're transferring from.
This is Kilo India 5, Tango India Delta, East Dallas.
Wow, we got another new call, KI5TID over in East Dallas. Could I have your name, please?
Yes, sir. This is Chad, CHAD.
Very good. Thank you, Chad. KI5TID, Chad over in East Dallas. Let me look over an Echo Link. Everybody's checked in over there. So, Miss Billy, we had 23 check-ins this evening from KE5ICX.
Tonight we had 20 participating on the air, so thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5TDS Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:27 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. Free everybody and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And here probably in about 5 or 6 minutes, the Afterglow Movie Net will start to discuss tonight's movie UFO from 2018. 73 everybody.
And thank you, Billy, for tonight's net. We appreciate it. Great net control job this evening. And she's right. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes to discuss tonight's movie UFO from 2018, which turned out to
Normal state.
be an interesting film. Even if you haven't seen it, it'd be an interesting discussion for those who did see it. Okay, we'll be back in 5. This is KE5 ICS.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Okay, it's been about 5 minutes, so now it's time for the Afterglow Movie Net, which we talk about a movie that was assigned this week and an opportunity to find out or maybe see a movie we've never seen before. This may be one of them. This week's movie is UFO. Yeah, that's a common name for movies. It's from 2018, I believe, is when the film came out. Yeah, release was September 4th, 2018. It's 88 minutes. English language movie here from made here in the United States. It's a small, kind of an art house film, I guess, low budget, but its production values were pretty good. Let me tell you a little bit about the plot. It is very short here, but it is pretty cool. We've got Derek, believes that when he was younger, he saw a UFO incident at the Cincinnati International Airport, CDG, by the way. In 2017, motivates him to prove the existence of UFOs being of extraterrestrial origin. As a college student, he seeks assistance from his girlfriend, Natalie, and mathematics professor, Dr. Hendricks, played by Gillian Anderson of The X-Files. Yep, that person. Let's see here. In conclusion, it jumps right to the conclusion. The protagonist resolves UFO mathematical riddles that gets to a place to briefly see UFO again. Right away, he gets detained by government forces who tell him they're already aware of aliens, have resolved some of their riddles, but appear to be far more complicated, and there are far more riddles to resolve. It says here the film was released directly to video on September 4th, 2018. Sony released a trailer on UFO Day. The film has been described as delving into math of universe navigation. Nigel Watson of Starburst gives the film 5 out of 10. I think that's kind of mean. Saying it was all done in Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, UFO promotes further study of fine structure constants, which I wish Miss Billy were here and had seen the film. I'd love to hear what her comments would be, because she has a doctorate in mathematics and is a science fiction fan. So she hasn't been staying up late recently, so unfortunately we don't get her input. But I think she'll go see it after then we'll know that it's pretty good. But at any rate, fine structure constant gives us a leg up on the hierarchy of civilizations that are as good as it gets. Overall, pretty interesting film. I just can't give you a lot of synopsis on it because it's a small film, limited audience release, meaning fewer people contributed to the Wikipedia than might be an ordinary bunch for a generally released film. So with that, I will do this. I will go ahead and take check-ins. Now, for those of you who may be listening, and there are some new people on here this week from the prior net, what we do is we talk about film, we watch it, and then we discuss first round, the plot, then we discuss the characterizations and acting, and then on the third round, we discuss special effects and anything that we may have, special effects, music, or anything we may have missed in the first 2 rounds, or things that have come up. And that usually takes us about 90 minutes, although sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. Not sure what's going to happen on this one. We'll just have to see. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and take check-ins. When you check in, please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see the film? Now, you are not automatically knocked out because you didn't see the film. That's perfectly okay. You may have something that is of similar nature, and we may ask you even when you check in, does this sound like something you would want to watch? And maybe a reason why you might or might not want to watch this film based on the comments you've heard. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and take check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, did you see UFO from 2018?
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz. I've never seen the film. I'm interested in what all of you have to say, so I'm going to be lurking around. Don't need to make any comments because I have not seen the film, but hey, I'm interested.
Ooh, they're stubborn out there, but I did get Chaz, KF5JHA. He's staying up late. so Bob is going to keep him entertained for at least an hour or so. Anyone else want to join us? Please come with your call, your name, and did you see the film?
This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima in Dallas, and yes, I saw this fine film.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth, and yes, I did see the film.
Okay, we picked up WB5OZL, Brenda, in Dallas. She did see the film. And NB5F, Virginia, in Fort Worth. Yes, she saw the film. Come on, I know you're out there. Anyone else?
KC5SWS, didn't see the film.
Oh my, that went so fast. I didn't get any of that. One more time, please.
Kilo Charlie 5, Sierra Whiskey Sierra. Sorry, I didn't see the film.
Oh, well, I should have figured who it was. KC5SWS. Andrew. He's probably driving home from the museum. Okay, didn't see the film. Well, you missed out. And if you're flunked math, like I did, you probably wouldn't understand it anyway. I know, well, the math part anyway. And story problems. Those are the hardest kinds. Okay. Anyone else?
Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Shaw in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see this film.
Okay, we did pick up one more. That's Sean, KB9SOK. I notice he always likes to hold off to the very end so he can, I'll bet you. You know, one of these days I'll just flip it around and go from the bottom up, and then you'll be put on the spot, and then you'll never check in again, and you know, it'll be one less person. All right, well, let's see. I think that's going to probably do it for us for this, at least on this round. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with Brenda, WB5OZL. What did you think about the plot to UFO from 2018?
This is WB5OZL. Well, I was riveted. I just thought it was a fascinating story, which is kind of surprising. It could have fallen flat, but it didn't. You know, something with almost no action and all talk and a bunch of math. I think that'd be a hard sell, but it was pretty interesting to me. I didn't understand any of that math. Obviously, math is not my strong suit, I'll tell you that. But it was interesting to watch him as he discovered the math and just got all excited. It was an exciting movie. They're about to, you know, make contact with or see the aliens. It might have been interesting to have had a different ending where, you know, the spaceship lands and he gets invited on for a tour or something like that. I think that would have been fun. But all we have is the promise of the future. Okay, back to net, WB5OZL.
Well, I have an answer to that question, and it probably is what happened with Steven Spielberg with his version. But that's another story, and I'll tell you that one at the end of this of these check-ins. So, next up is NV5F, Virginia. Your thoughts on the plot for tonight's movie UFO from 2018.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Well, as it got started, I was a little skeptical, especially when it was very cerebral. There was lots of esoteric references to wonderful things like differential equations and linear algebra and the wonderful long many decimal places physical constants of the universe. In fact, the movie began with a physics, kind of a little physics briefing, and I was frustrated because with my visual impairment, I actually had to literally stand up and lean forward so that I could read the beginning of the movie, and that was kind of hacking me off. But I see where they were going there. So I thought that there was there were enough little subplots about the kid's childhood and how he remembered seeing a UFO when he was a little kid, and how that kind of drove him and gave him some reason for him suddenly, out of the blue, being this, college math major who was suddenly interested in this incident at the airport, and it had a lot of cool stuff, and how to find information on the internet. You'd think a movie where the dark web and a differential equations final and trigonometry and all that. It's hard to believe that can be dramatic, but they actually did a pretty decent job with the story. It had a plot with his roommate. It had a plot with his girlfriend. I like the idea that, a nerdy guy can have a nerdy girlfriend, and they're just, other than being, math nerds, they're pretty normal people with their normal problems, and, he's already getting so into his world that, he struggles to have a relationship, and they did a pretty decent job with that aspect of it. The guy from the government that figured out what he was doing, and all of that went. It was just a real simple plot. It was fairly straightforward. You could follow it, even though the math, they did a good job of making it where you could follow it even if you don't understand anything about eigenvectors and stuff like that. So I liked it. I liked some of the animated things where they were showing kind of, that's not a new thing. When you have a guy who's a genius in a movie, they'll do these kind of animations to sort of show you what's going on inside of his brain, and they did some of that, and I thought that was all right. He was a likable guy, and I don't want to get too into round 2 or 3, but the plot was. The end was fairly satisfying, even though he didn't get to. It was no Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but he did make a connection, before everybody else caught up to him. I was joking to myself that they were all like, they're like the people who check in late to Afterglow. They're all the guys who showed up late at the sighting. They were the ones who were all cheating off his paper and followed him there. And so, and I've done that before. I've been like the last person to check in because I didn't pay much attention to the movie, and I want to hear what everybody else has to say so I can kind of base what I said off of what they said. So anyway, I was joking to myself about how they were cheating off of him to even know where the aliens were going to be, and it was pretty brilliant stuff. Whoever wrote this had to have been some kind of doctorate in math or something. It was really cool, and I love math, so that actually kept me kind of glued to it because I'm no mathematician, but it was fun to just see what I could understand. That's what kept me interested. Was like I want to see what I understand, and all the RF theory and all that. I was hanging right in there with that. So there was some RF theory stuff in there, about frequencies and stuff like that, that a decent ham radio operator can understand. So I decided that by the end of this, everybody needed to just go get their ham license. And anyway, I liked it. I thought the plot was it kept you hanging in there. It wasn't boring. It was very simple to follow. They did a good job of making the math and all that stuff kind of entertaining, even if you weren't quite sure what was going on with that. And his relationship with his math professor got interesting. You know, there was even a nice little dig at Thomas Edison in there. So anyway, that'll be my assessment of the plot. Back to net in V5F.
Yeah, thank you, Virginia. I think, you know, and I'll interject here where I think of it is that I think this one really does merit a repeat viewing. It's a little dry in that it's mostly exposition, but if you're okay with that, and you got a rainy day where you just want to sit down and kind of zone in on something like this, and you've got that nerdy tendency going on, this is definitely a film to rewatch. I didn't understand the math either, or that well. I had some of this when I was in college and in high school, but, you know, I'm no math major, and I would never be able to solve the problem even if they had the formulas in front of me. But even still, it was pretty cool how they came about doing all this. So I've got some comments on the plot here in a little bit. All right, let me jump to Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, you did see the film. What did you think about the plot from KE5I6?
This is KB9SOK. Like everybody, I thought it was kind of a cute little film. I don't know that I'd say that I loved it, but I liked it okay. As everybody said, it was a really simple plot. You know, it was really more about the math and kind of how he got there, and we learned his motivation, which is kind of getting the characterization part, but it does kind of follow a little bit, which is funny as you mentioned that Gillian Anderson is, of course, of X-Files fame, which I'm sure that's why they had her on here, was to help promote it. But then, obviously, you know, this kid had a similar experience to Mueller in the X-Files that, you know, he was motivated by when he was a kid in Aliens. So, you know, that was, you know, not surprising. There were some parallels there. I did feel the plot was kind of predictable. You knew in the end he was going to get there and get, you know, and actually get to see something. You may not know for sure what was going to happen as far as, yeah, was it going to be a close encounters kind of deal, or is he just going to see it? You know, so that part was kind of predictive, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm not a mathematician either. I took, you know, all those fun classes in college, but there's a part of me that wanted to sit down and it's like, you know, fact check some of these. Because a lot of times in these movies like this, they don't do the best job of fact checking, you know, the various math that they do. We've seen this in a movie, I think it was about a year ago, I can't remember the name of it, to where there were some formulas on a chalkboard, and one of our very, you know, people that are very knowledgeable on math pointed out that the formula was wrong for what they had on the chalkboard. So it's like, yeah, okay. You know, this is not my area of expertise, so I didn't want to fact check it. And there was just so much of it. And at some point, you know, I had that feeling of, you know, it goes back to like the very first CSI, where they wanted to show you all the science in the background. And it was kind of a novelty and fun for the first season. But by the time you get to season 10, you're kind of tired of seeing it. And that's kind of how I kind of felt for this film, unfortunately. That's the reason I don't love it. That's why I only liked it, because it kind of got old towards the end, because it was just kind of a repeat way to fill space, because it really wasn't that in-depth of a plot. So they needed, you know, they kind of used that as an excuse to fill in space and time, just to extend the movie. Not necessarily making it bad, but it just seemed overdone. But really, I think the only kind of, I would say, plot hole in this would be, I think, more kind of towards the very end there, where, you know, it just so happens that that day's school lesson kind of answered the final part of, you know, figuring out this formula. So I thought that was a little cheesy, that just happened to work out that way. What are the odds kind of a deal. So, you know, other than that, yeah, it was a very likable film. The characters were, well, I won't get into characters, because obviously that's, I think, really almost a bigger part of this film. So, yeah, that's all I got. Back to net, KB9SOK.
That coming up here. I will first ask if anyone else would like to check in. Tonight's movie we're talking about is UFO from 2018. Lots of math involved with this one. If this sounds like something familiar to you or something you'd like to discuss, or you even saw the film this week or at some time in recent past, please come with your call, your name, and did you see the film? All right, well, it's going to be a small group tonight, but that's okay. Let me tell you some of the things that I thought about the film. First off, I enjoyed it. Where have I seen this film before? Are you ready? Here we go. Let's discuss where these things have occurred before. We know about the young child seeing the UFO and being profoundly affected by it. X-Files, Mulder. The coordinates on the ground on Earth where you could find the flying saucers, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. How about formulas that help you understand that this is from outer space, from aliens? Day the Earth stood still. Let's see, what else do we have? Communications that came from relatively close but had to have come from extraterrestrial contact. Let's see, the government dark vans in pursuit of our hero, E.T. Do all these films have these, this film had all of those elements in it. Now, obviously I'm being kind of mean in a way because that's how you move plots along, these are common things that you do, particularly of the science fiction genre. We have to have all this stuff. We got to have scientists in white lab coats, although now that I think about it, there were no white lab coats. I'm disappointed. So some things that were interesting I thought about the film. First off, there was some question, and I'm talking to Brenda on the back channel over here. Would we know if the math was accurate or not? No, we would not. But if you sat through the credits, which I always do, there were no less than 3 math consulting groups with at least a dozen names under each of them. So 12, 24, 36 different people all inputting to make sure that the math was corrected and all the I's were dotted and the E's crossed, or T's crossed, or you know what I mean. So nobody from the English department, though. It's all math. I thought it was interesting too that they talked about the what is it called, the Kardashev scale, type 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 civilizations, and the fact that we are only not even made it to 1. And the Kardashev scale talks about how much power that you would use, or usable energy at your disposal. And to do so would mean that you would have to be able to, I think if you were to reach 1, you would be able to utilize all of the energy that would hit, say, Earth at one time, that you would be able to consume and use that, and then beyond that, the entire star, which is a 2, 3, and a 4, which was interesting because that was a springboard into what was happening as far as math was concerned. We were talking about coordinates on Earth, then we're talking about coordinates in space, and then we're talking about coordinates that could be in multi-dimension or something along those lines. Trying to go with part of this as well, which I thought was pretty cool. That was towards the end when they were showing the animated zeros and spaces to indicate what was going on. They mentioned the Drake-Sagan transmission from the Arecibo telescope going out to, what was it, M13 I think it was, to provide a signal that was 2 prime numbers, I think, in order to show the images. And of course, the aliens, wherever they were coming from, were sending that type of information at first over the tower frequency for Cincinnati Airport, which was kind of cool. And you hear this little noise. I thought, oh, it's going to be Morse code, and it wasn't. But they figured it out as to the 2 numbers that would provide the appropriate lineup for the images that they were getting, which turned out to be coordinates. Now, how that came about is I was lost on that sort of thing. It's very easy for me to be lost because then we got into the supermath and that. Now, the scene I like the most, and it's most obvious, is in the lecture hall when Scully, Dr. Hendricks is talking and realizes that the fine structure constant was somehow involved in this, which is part of quantum field theory, and it's a number that just exists. And I think that, if I remember correctly, I'm going in over my head because I don't know this stuff very well in physics. It is a physical constant that involves our universe, and that this number could be different in multiple universes elsewhere. And so, this number exists, and it has to do with electron charge or electromagnetic interaction, and it's just there. Nobody can explain it. And it's a part of and figuring out, along with the frequency of hydrogen, they were able to say, I know this helps solve whatever that dimensional information was, the coordinates that they were looking for. And suddenly they're talking to each other while the rest of the class is sitting there dumbfounded between the two of them, which I thought was really cool. I also like the fact that she finally acquiesced and talked to him. I don't know how the hell he was able to get all the phone numbers for everybody, like the Cincinnati Tower. He could talk to the guy who was on duty the night of the UFO, and he gets the phone number for Hendricks' home phone number, and he goes over and talks to her. That's kind of amazing, and that sort of thing. And then also talking to the guy who was the public relations guy who was told to shut up. And he was able to not only talk to him, but find him on his way to work. I guess he knew what his work schedule was, too. Which sort of reminded me of another story that somebody should do, which is based on Ghosts of the Machine, with Mednick. I can't think of his first name. Who was the kid, who's now an adult and computer consultant, who was able to find this type of thing out with social engineering, being able to get, it seems like, extrasensory powers to be able to find that kind of information out. I think this kid probably would have been intelligent enough to be able to do that and get information that other people wouldn't be able to do through clever means. I'll talk about that some other time, but that's a really fascinating story. Ghosts in the Wire, if you want to read a really fascinating book. It was Kevin Minnick. Kevin Minnick was the name of the computer whiz kid. And I feel that our character here was an example of that. What was his name? Derek. Well, we'll do that on the next round. Okay, let's see here. Anything else I want to say? Man, consulting group end. Ending, because in the end what they want to do is they want to see how far we go, and they're trying to explain things to us. Maybe they don't want to reveal anything to us because we're too stupid. We're not even a Type 1 technology, and they're very much aware of that. Plus, if they've ever been to Cincinnati Airport, Kentucky Airport, they would know that. But I think they suffer from the same thing that Steven Spielberg did with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The original vision of the film was not to go inside the spacecraft, and in this case they probably couldn't afford to do so for the lack of a budget. So that probably had a lot to do with it. I remember even Steven Spielberg said that he really didn't want to do that scene inside the spacecraft, but it was a gimmick to, I think 2 years after the movie came out, it was second release, I think, in summer of 80 or 81, something like that, to get people to go back to the theater and see the extra minutes that they had added to the film inside the spacecraft, which, by the way, was completely stupid. So he wasn't happy with doing that, and I believe when the director's cut finally came out later on, that scene was excised from the movie. And I agree with him. I think it was a wasted scene. It didn't have to be there. Therefore, in this film, it would have served no useful purpose. So I agree with that, even though Spielberg was not involved, which was a good thing. Okay, on this next round, we will go ahead and get started. Well, at first, since I skipped over Chaz, now he says he's just listening, but let's see. Chaz, KF5JHA. Chaz, if you're still out there, did you find anything interesting from our discussion, like fine structure constant maybe, or the Kardashev scale? Do you get to talk about that in lectures, or has it been brought up by really smart kids at college? You can talk to us. They're not listening from KE5 ICX.
Okay, if I said I was asleep, I guess I couldn't be talking, right? And what I haven't revealed, although I have revealed this in the past, I actually am an adjunct, which means part-time, math instructor at Brookhaven. No, I don't have a PhD in math, but that's okay. I might know some of the stuff. You've got me very curious about this. I need to watch this film. Okay, KF5, JHA.
Okay, well, there are story problems. There's even one trying to figure out how large the spacecraft is. If the size of it, if you were to take it, here you go. If you have a dime and you held it out at arm's length, and it was at a distance of, what they say, I don't know, 2,500 feet or something. Was it higher? I forget. 2,500, 5,000 feet, something like that. How wide would the spacecraft actually be if it was the size of a dime held at arm's length? And our brilliant scientist, our brilliant student, Alex, came up with 88 feet, which, by the way, later on, the publicity guy came back and said, yeah, it was a Gulfstream that, Gulfstream, the aircraft that had flown over, and that was their unidentified object, which was 88 feet. How about that? Same number, because he told them that was the number. And they did it at the little theta thing, or whatever the hell it is. You know all that. I failed math, so I can't tell you authoritatively, but it was interesting. They did that. They even showed you the math and all of that. I was terrible with story problems. Okay, Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, what did you think about the characterization and acting in our fine film UFO from 2018 from KE5 ICX?
This is WB50ZL. Well, I thought the main character, the boy, was just perfect in this role. I don't know what he does normally, but he just looked like such a geek. It was perfect. Scully seemed kind of lost without Mulder. Maybe they should have brought him off or something. That actress seemed an awful lot like Scully in this movie. I'm sorry. I guess she's been in other things as well, but I've never seen her as anything but Scully, so who knows. The other people, a lot of them are just, they did a fine job, but there's nothing remarkable about them. But I think it was cast pretty well, and the acting was just fine. No problems with that. The music I hated. It was just absolutely annoying. Let's see, what else? I wish we'd seen some aliens. That would have been nice. Okay, back to net, WV50ZL.
Wow, that was quick. Okay, well, this may be a quick net this evening. Well, let me go to Virginia, NB5F. Virginia, ditto to you. What do you think?
Okay, well, I'll make up for Brenda's brevity. Don't worry. Well, let's see. I think the fine structure constant was a character. It was very good. It did a very good job being the fine structure constant. I actually have the Wikipedia page for it, and it's one of those tricky things, trippy stuff like Planck's constant, where it's just like, well, why is it that? Nobody's sure, but I guess they figured out that's the only way to get everything to even out is if you put this number in, so there it is. That's as much as I've read. It looks pretty deep into quantum field theory, which I don't know anything about. Anyway, characters were fine. Everything was pretty stereotypical. For some reason, the kid in these things always has to be a skinny, dark-haired kid. I guess if he were a chubby, blonde, curly-headed kid, no one would take him seriously. They'd all think he was Chunk from the Goonies or that kid from Stranger Things. Now, I might have sat through one whole episode of X-Files in my entire life, and that's only because I had friends that liked it. So, I'm going to say that the Scully lady who played, I can't even remember her name, who played the math professor, did great, because I don't know from Scully, so I think she made a great middle-aged math professor. I thought she did great in that role, and I thought she was believable as far as how she handled the kid and his kind of smarty butt attitude that he had because he was such a genius. And the scene, in fact, I think she was a little too nice to a UFO problem. I thought she was actually a little bit soft on him there. But that was a good scene or sequence in the movie, and it definitely solidified their relationship as far as how they had what understanding they had about each other and each other's capabilities and each other's kind of, deeper parts of each other's passion for math and those kind of theories. I liked the little speech that he gave about the kind of mythology that great minds do all their best achieving in their 20s, because of people like Einstein and stuff like that who have all their great revelations early in life, and then there's nothing much, after that. And he made a really brilliant and kind of inspiring to me little speech about numerous brilliant people who did their greatest work in their 50s and 60s. And he was trying to egg his teacher on to believe that she wasn't just some old math professor. I kind of liked that scene. I wish it had been pulled out a little further. But I did like the scene the next day when he walked into his linear algebra class and she just started talking, and suddenly, per their conversation the night before, the next day, she was the one who kind of had the revelation about the fine structure constant and how it connected to 21 centimeters as, the wavelength of hydrogen, and also the background radiation of the universe. I liked that. I liked that she was the one who had that moment and shared it with him kind of secretly in front of the whole class and in front of his, I guess then at that point, ex-girlfriend. Their little relationship and how they, dealt with that, I think was pretty realistic. I, of course, have hopes that, after his girlfriend finds out that the whole thing was legit, maybe she'll get back together with him. I liked that there were no aliens. I liked that there were no abductions. I liked that there was no, I agree with you, Tom, about the scenes added to Close Encounters. I remember seeing that. They ran that version on cable a lot when I was a kid, and it took me a while when I was younger to figure out that there were two different versions of that movie. So yeah, I like movies that leave a little bit more to the imagination, especially when it has to do with aliens. And I actually like the way this movie ended, because it ended with him getting acknowledged for his brilliance and basically being told, because you stuck in there and you wouldn't give up and you wouldn't let people stomp you down about what you really thought was going on, and you stayed convinced that you weren't crazy, and you went about it as systematically as you could, and now this guy's basically saying, hey, you've got a lifetime ahead of you of really cool discoveries, and you know, basically implying that he was going to be working on that with all the big brains that, you know, and, you know, on Earth for probably the rest of his life. So I did see the similarities with Contact and lots of other movies. That's, you can't really help that. There were some things, the whole 3D page thing, like that was totally taken from, that looked so much like Contact. When they were like, oh, we've discovered there's going to be a whole nother layer to this, and, you know, these aren't just grids, they're actually these three-dimensional pages of information, and I was like, oh yeah, like Contact. But, you know, I love Contact too. I watched that movie over and over again. This one's a lot more math heavy, and it actually makes the math real palatable, and I think the characters are, if a little bit kind of predictable and stereotypical, likable, and you want to root for them, and, you know, you want to see them kind of come together in the end. And you know, I liked that he was kind of vindicated by the end of this. So and I'll have other things to say about lots of stuff in round 3, I'm sure, in V5F.
All right, very good. Thank you, Virginia. Thanks, and good comments. I wrote a couple of notes here on what you said. Hopefully I can come back and reflect on it in my turn. Okay, let's see here. Do I dare venture? Andrew's probably already home by now. KC5SWS, are you still out there? And would you watch this movie if you had a chance? From KE5ICS. Yeah, I figured he'd be gone. He's not that far from home when he gets on the road this time of night. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, I'm really interested in your comments. What do you think about the characterization, the acting in our fine film, UFO from 2018?
This is KB9SOK. Yeah, well, you kind of put the pressure on there. I don't know that I have a lot to add. I think Virginia hit it nail on the head there. On the characters. I will just make, and I agree with both of you on the, Close Encounters, reference there. That I do like in this movie that, yeah, we didn't meet the aliens. I do like that the kid, didn't get taken away, thrown into a hole, that he was asked to join the team. So I actually did like the ending. I forgot to mention that the first round. I did like the way they did that much better than some of the other films we've seen similar. Just kind of going back to some of the comments earlier, the whole the social engineering and finding phone numbers and all that you brought up first round, yeah, that is surprisingly easy to do, quite honestly, on the internet. That is, actually do IT for a living in security. So it's scary just how easy it is to get information on people, and we do a lot of training at work to try to help the employees to be careful about what they put out on the internet, what they respond to, because it is so easy to get people's personal information. So it would be very easy for him to have gotten that information quickly. The only part as far as the IT stuff goes, or computer stuff goes, I thought was a little off in the film, just how he mentioned he had to go to the dark web to get the recordings, which is, you wouldn't have to go to the dark web to get that. There are so many people that follow that kind of stuff that openly share it. There'd be no way they could shut down all the sites. So, being a person living next to an airport, I also like to listen to the tower once in a while, and I got some software where I can monitor the transponders to hear the airplanes going over my apartment, and that's always fun to do. And I know there's a lot of people do that, a lot of people that actually record it. So that part was, realistic to get the info. I just had to chuckle when, every movie's got to throw that in there. You got to go out to the dark web when you really don't for most times. But on the characters, I agree with everybody said. I think the kid was spot on. Yeah, it's very stereotypical. Every time you see a geek on TV, that they always make them so they're awkward and weird, and that's just not true. But that's just that stereotype that everybody's kind of gotten used to. So we see that a lot in the film. Now, I will also say on the flip side is I have, I don't know if I've ever met a true, what I would consider a super genius, but I have met a few pretty smart people, and a few of them have been very kind of odd. They did have a tendency, but not all of them. So yeah, I think his character it fit well. I think he did a good job. Yeah, that Gillian Anderson's portrayal of the professor was fine. She just, I don't think it was a particularly hard role, but I think she did a good job at it. And most of the other characters were secondary, and obviously being a low-budget film, there wasn't a lot of characters, but for being a simple plot, I actually thought the actors all did a good job, and it was pretty well done on that part, so got no complaints. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got on that, so back to net, this is KB9SOK.
All right, good deal. This is KE5ICX. We're talking about the movie UFO from 2018. Does anyone else want to check in at this point before I give my comments? Please come with your call, your name, and did you see the film? Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and add my 2 cents. It's probably all it's worth. I liked all the characters. I really did. I thought that they were all quite fun. I thought Alex as Derek in this film was quite good. You can see there was good angst and frustration in his portrayal. You could see it in his face. I thought he was really well cast in the film. He was well directed, and he's a good actor. Hope to see him in other stuff. I haven't looked to see what else he's been in, but he was quite good in this. Hendricks, played by Gillian Anderson, she did well as always. She does kind of play Scully, but a sympathetic one. I actually felt she had a little more emotion and concern in the thing. She knew and was quite sure that Derek was smart, and she even told him in her frustration that he was very smart, but he was argumentative and difficult. But that's what you needed in order to be able to argue points, to be able to move forward. So maybe he was a contrarian, but he was a smart contrarian. The rest of the cast did, I think, a fine job. The Natalie character's girlfriend was quite, what might be a girlfriend and what might happen in a situation like that with Alex. Kind of left her high and dry in a couple of instances. The other characters, David Franklin and Lee, as I go down the cast list here, were quite good. Overall, one thing that I enjoyed, they did college students as smart people. They're still kids to a certain extent because they still got kid-ish in them, but they're smart kids. So often we portray kids as dum-dums, and I just don't think that's fair. Certainly it happens, we know that, and there's immaturity, but smarts and immaturity don't necessarily mean the same thing. And I like the fact that they made the characters have some weight and had some really witty dialogue and smart dialogue along the way. That makes it watchable. Not everything has to be Animal House, okay? And somehow or another, I think that film has cast a pall upon every other movie that's ever had teenagers or college students in it as dum-dums. You can interpret them more graphic names, but I just enjoyed it. I thought this was quite entertaining. They were fun to watch overall. The movie was 88 minutes long. It was a little long with the exposition, but that's all they had. It's a low-budget kind of art house film, and exposition heavy, and that's because that's what you can do. Words don't cost a lot to put on film. So overall, not too bad. Let's see, what else was I going to say about this one? Characters, hold on. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. I was going to mention something. Actually, I could do this on the final round. No, I'll do it now since we've got a little bit of time. It's only 11:24. We mentioned the going in the spacecraft. That was kind of my thing. And I remember, and I think I've mentioned it on this net before, but J.J. Abrams did what was it? A TED, I believe it was, or it was just a thing. I think it was a TED. He came out and talked about movie making. And one of the things he said was, and this is as he walked on. Let me back up and say, as he walked on to do his presentation or his discussion, which is about 5 to 10 minutes long, he brought a box with him, and the box was well worn out. It looked like it was kind of stained, and it looked like he had it for many years. And indeed, that's what he said. He says, this box is the one I got from Bill's Magic Emporium or something. He says, I wanted to know, it's a mystery box, and there's something inside of it. He says, I've never opened it, because if I open it, I'm going to destroy the illusion. I'm going to destroy the expectation. So I never open this box. And I use it as inspiration, because it tells me anything inside this box is what I want it to be. And he says, that's how movies should be made. And I agree with him. Is that if you go and you graphically tell everybody everything possible, you're not going to have a good movie. You're going to have a substandard movie, because whatever they put on screen is never going to be as great as your imagination. And, you know, we saw that in 2001: A Space Odyssey, and indeed even Stanley Kubrick did the same thing. He said initially they were trying to come up with aliens, and they did sort of a version of E.T. from 1968, but they decided on this enigmatic monolith. It's nothing. It's a geometric construct. It's not a creature or anything like that. And that kept the mystery a mystery. We don't know what the hell it was. And in Close Encounters, to a certain extent, it took me out of the moment when they did show the aliens, and I knew that they were children in rubber suits. And the film lost some of its mysticism at that point, just like Abrams suggested in his speech. So sometimes you can do too much. In a film like this, where it's a low budget, doesn't have a lot of money, although I think they did a really good job of what they had, but that's the next round. You can maintain the quality of the film overall. Maybe people feel shortchanged by that, but I thought it was pretty cool. We didn't see who the aliens were. We don't want to know who the aliens are, not yet, and we're not ready to see the aliens. I think that was a pretty good way of demonstrating and to end the film. I was perfectly fine with that. And really, it was focused on Derek in the end and his opportunity as for the job right then and there. Of course, they had to take the handcuffs off first, right? But overall, I like the way it ended. I don't know what else they could have done to improve it, but any rate, all the characters to me were quite engaging and well done. Even the big mouth guy at the representative at Cincinnati was pretty good, and I like the government guy. He was quite good too. He looks so familiar to me that I don't see his hot link in here. I'll have to go back and see if I can figure out. He looks familiar to me. All right, that's it from me. So we'll go third round here. This one is music, special effects, anything you want to talk about. There may be enough here to pick up where you left off, in fact. So we'll start with Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, third round, whatever you want to talk about. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
This is WB50ZL. I'm intrigued by the story of the mystery box. Last week I went to a history conference in Huntsville, Texas, and got a behind-the-scenes tour of the Sam Houston Museum. And one of the artifacts in their collection is a Christmas present from World War II that has never been opened. It was shipped to this guy who was a B-29 crew, and he died. So they shipped it back, and they put it under the tree, family tree, for years and years, and now it's ended up in a museum. And so far as I know, it will never be opened. We wanted to open it, but we couldn't. You know, that's been set now. And, well, that's an intriguing idea of never getting to know what's inside. So I figured it was a fruitcake. But anyway, you know, it is something to be said about the aliens never showing up. We still have that mystery, and we're still where we are now, where we don't really know anything about them. And but they're pretty smart, obviously, with all that math. So might be a nice sequel for them to pursue this and see what develops. Special effects weren't too many. No, we had some nice airplane pictures, stock footage, and that was nice. Always like things that are shot around an airport. Let's see, what else? Did I mention I hate the music? I don't know what they were thinking. It was when the music jumps out and annoys you. Music should be background and unobtrusive, or at least add to whatever is going on the screen. Should enhance it. But that, you know, it's like, let's just keep it weird. And it didn't work. It fell flat. Well, I think that's all I have to say, so I'm going to send it back, WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda, and very good. Oh, and by the way, the music, I looked the guy up. It's Wes Dylan Swardson. He's done a lot of, kind of, I don't know, movies you've never heard of. He did do an M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong film called Glass from 2019, so I guess that could be his big break. The rest of the films I don't recognize. Okay, so let's see. I'll talk about that a little bit. Virginia, NB5F. Your comments, anything you want. It's open up. You can talk about special effects, music, which I know you hated it as well. But anything else, including anything that you would like to say about anything about the film or comments we've already had. KD5ICM.
Okay, well, yeah, the music, I mean, anytime there's a movie with what I call it minimalist music, that's pretty much what it is, and that's kind of become a staple in movie and TV music. I was watching a clip from one of the newer Star Wars shows that's I don't have Disney Plus. I haven't watched any of those shows, but I was watching a clip from one of those shows, and it had that style of music, and it just, to me, it's very atmospheric. It's setting a mood, but the mood it tends to always set is drab, dreary, just not very welcoming, not very enveloping. I understand that music can't just smack you in the face and get in the way. I'm amazed by, you know, when I watch older movies, and so, you know, the trend in the late 70s and 80s and 90s was to have, you know, these big, beautiful scores, and then to have each character have a theme, or have a love theme. I mean, that was such a thing, and I miss that. I miss the music kind of reinforcing each character or drawing you in and making you get emotionally involved, and it really does. And if it's just mood and atmosphere, whether it's minimalism or not, it's just, you know, I like music that is that integrates me into the story a little bit more. Yeah, maybe some people argue, well, you know, you can't have music there telling you how to feel. That's just cheating. And it can kind of steer your emotions, but it also helps you get emotionally engaged with the characters and the story. And these modern movies, the reason I find some of them so forgettable and not something I want to watch again is because the music is just dull, and if it were not so dull, I might want to sit through some of these movies again. I don't know that I want to sit through this one again, except maybe to understand the math better, or, you know, pause it in places and see what I can understand or figure out myself. So yeah, I mean, I'm with Brenda. I didn't like the music, but I'm trying to give logical, like, good, you know, I always want to have, like, good reasons, as she did, you know, for why I don't like it. I don't want to just go, oh, that was crap. And I don't like that style of music. I think it's lazy. Minimalism, I've always thought, was a lazy style, but I'm sure there's some people that will argue that it's just another form of creativity with different parameters. But I've just never thought much of it, and don't really care for how it makes me feel, about how things make me feel. And people would probably think I'm nuts for being such a big fan of 2001, because it seems to fly in the face of a lot of the things I claim are the things I care about the most or make the most sense to me. But 2001 is kind of an exception to a lot of people's rules, and it does get referred to a lot on here, and it is hard to get through a science fiction movie without thinking about it. And like you said, the mystery, the monolith itself is the mystery box. You know, what's in that box? Dave says it's full of stars. The eight men found it educational. You know, so it's one of those. It's like, well, what is it? And it's kind of whatever people need it or want it to be. I like the idea of the mystery box, and then Brenda's follow-up about the unopened Christmas gift, and I'll just call it Schrodinger's box. What's in that box? Maybe it's a cat, maybe it's anything you want it to be, but I do like the idea of having a box that you've never opened, and you can always kind of tell a story to yourself about what's there. And then I'll cite an example from my own fanhood. My favorite is the movie Short Circuit, and of course at the end of the movie they drive off into the sunset, and you know, we think they've talked about going to Montana, and then Short Circuit 2, they completely bypass Montana, and they, you know, because they had to have a different cast, and you know, a couple cast members didn't want to come back, and they had to change the story around who they could get for the cast, and the only person they could get besides number 5 was Fisher Stevens to play Ben, and so they had to, you know, change the story essentially and kind of jump past a whole chapter. And all these, you know, some fans, I've heard some people, you know, say, well, they were real disappointed when they saw the second movie because they skipped the whole everything they had imagined about what was going to happen next just got kind of completely bypassed. So if they never made another movie, you know, there'd be this wonderful mystery box, you know, what happened to number 5 next, and they skipped all that. So it's almost like it's still there. It's like it's still wrapped up, and you know, no one's ever really found out what happened, you know, in that chapter, which that could make for an interesting, you know, somewhere in between, you know, not really a sequel and not really a prequel. I guess a sequel to Short Circuit and a prequel to Short Circuit 2, and sometimes I think about that. So I like I'll just add that part to the mystery box idea, because I really do like the idea of that. And they're talking about rebooting and remaking Short Circuit 2, and that's kind of like a mystery box that I hope nobody opens, because I really don't want them to remake it. So anyway, I could talk ad infinitum, I'm sure, about lots of other things. Oh, and Brenda, I loved your callback to fruitcake. I know that we were talking about that online, so now I really, really want fruitcake. Anyway, thanks, Tom, in V5F.
Thank you, Virginia. I made some comments. I've kind of gone a little off topic, but I don't mind at all. I think these are always great conversations. Let's see. Next is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, Your final comments, or could be final comments, I will ask if we'll have time for any additional comments after this, but please, go ahead. What do you think? Anything you want to say about special effects, music, or something that's already been discussed or on the table right now? Go ahead. KE5I6.
This is KB9, that's okay. Yeah, I think everybody's done an excellent job covering it. I agree with the music comments. I didn't like the music, the sound that they had for that. I too also miss movies that have very defiant, themes for each character. Because, even years later, you can hear that tune and it takes you instantly back to that particular part of the movie or, that character. So yeah, I agree. I wish they would do more of that again. Obviously, it adds a lot of cost, and being this low budget film, I'm sure that was something that just wasn't there. But yeah, even the big budget films today don't seem to want to do that anymore. All in all, I thought that it was, there wasn't a whole lot for special effects. I guess we did get a little glimpse of the saucer from a distance. Kind of basic effects, but once again, they didn't have the budget to show you a close-up. In some ways, maybe it's better that they didn't, as everybody's already discussed. Once again, like the ending. As far as how the thing was actually filmed, as far as cinematography, I know this was a low-budget film, but one thing I found a little distracting in a few places was I noticed that you could tell that the frame rates were changing. In some scenes, you had that classic 24 frames per second kind of view, classic cinema. And then there's a few times you tell it was at a higher frame rate because it had that smoothing effect. And that seemed to be more at the beginning of the film. Then they kind of, as they went into it, you've seen less of that. So I thought that was a little strange. I'm not sure what happened there, but as far as the effects and filming, that was kind of the only odd thing. But at least we didn't see any, I think the audio was decent for a low-budget film. I think they did a good job there. We weren't hearing any weird background sounds or any of that. So, yeah, I'm all for an inexpensive film. I thought it was decent. I liked it, and I'd recommend it. I don't know that I'd watch it anytime soon again, but I might someday. But, yeah, if you're definitely into that, kind of science fiction, I'd definitely recommend it. And yeah, I agree with your short circuit comment. I hope they don't remake it. Once again, it's off subject, but yeah, they're wanting to reboot everything these days, and so far I've yet to see a reboot that's ever really lived up to the original, and maybe it can't because I grew up with the originals, but yeah, I really wish they'd just come up with some fresh IPs instead of these constant redos. So, I know we talk about that quite often. I think, in fact, just last week or the week before, Tom made some comments about the remake of Lost in Space on Netflix. Yeah, I wish they quit doing that. But yeah, not a lot to add to this one. It was kind of a nice little gem, a little different to watch. Looking forward to the next one. So yeah, back to net, KB9, okay?
Oh, thank you, Sean. And I'm a closet Lost in Space fan, and I've seen every reboot. I like the original the best, although I do think that this rebooted series by Kevin Burns, not Ken Burns, but Kevin Burns, who passed on, was the best. And he kept with it for 4 seasons. But I think they did a pretty good job with it. And it did get critically acclaimed, too. But that's another story for another time. Does anyone else want to check in? This is your last chance to get in on the movie UFO from 2018, or just some comments you want to make. If you're out there and have not checked in, here's your opportunity. Please come out. Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and make my final comments on this, and then I'll even ask if there's another round. We've got 15 minutes left after this, so if you want to, we can continue the conversation or conclude. Either way, it's up to you. So, music. Interestingly, usually I am the biggest critic of music. I either like it, and I'll mention it, and most people will say the same thing, or I hate it, and other people say the same thing. This was an odd one to me in that the music didn't bother me at all. I thought it did okay, and it complemented the film okay in my book. But with enough people here saying that they did not like it, then it's objectionable to the average audience. That I'm kind of into music scores in motion pictures. I have a zillion CDs from them, so I kind of like them on their own merit. But if it is that annoying, and it apparently was, and there's nothing wrong with that, then it's not a good score. It really is not. It should be complimentary. It should offer something. It should add something to the film. So, with that being said, here's a couple of comments about scores. The infamous Hans Zimmer, who wrote the score for what's one of the coming up empty all of a sudden. Gladiator was one of his scores. Taught a class or has a school or something, I don't know. He's somehow involved in teaching people how to write mediocre scores. And a really grand example of this, and I think I've mentioned it to this group, is if you ever listen to, and it's a fine example, but it's the same subject matter, the Hawaii Five-0 TV series, the original series, if you ever listen to any score from any episode, they had a lot of original music for that series. They spent a lot of money on music. It won an Emmy for best music for a TV series 1 year at least. I think it was in the 4th season. And they did put out the pilot on record, which was a highly sought-after record until it was put in general release again when they did the reboot later on. I think they wanted like $500 for the LP, believe it or not. It's unbelievable but true. And I do have a copy of the score, but I don't have the LP. And I love it. It is really fantastic. Morgan Stevens did a super job on that music. Fast forward to the 2000s when the new series, or the 2010s when the series came out, rebooted, and they had a couple of composers that wrote for that. And it's completely forgettable music. There is nothing remarkable about it. There is nothing anybody cares about. What people remember from the rebooted series is, surprise, the main theme, which was reconstituted even with some of the same musicians who did it originally in 1967, came back with walkers and redid the music almost identical. And the opening is still, while short, is still dramatic and really cool, and it gets you in the mood. The students of Hans Zimmer, who did and churned out the music for that, not so much. Now, they also mentioned, and I know, Virginia, you don't have any experience with this, but Mark Snow did music for X-Files. He wrote original music every week for that series. It's probably one of the series with the most original music ever portrayed. They didn't have, you have a catalog of music that you would reuse for episodes to economize, but he would produce it. His stuff is good. I have several of his CDs, but it is repetitious, and if you listen to the X-Files, any music, any day, if you just ran it in the background, you would know it's X-Files because it has long violins or kind of subdued music. He uses the same tropes over and over again, and it's okay. I don't consider it particularly fantastic. He's written better scores later on, outside of X-Files, but no, it is what it is, I suppose. And then finally, you mentioned 2001 and using track music that was, from catalog and popular music, or not popular, but classical music. Alex North wrote the score. I do have a CD of the music that was originally intended for 2001. Let me say this. I think you would find that the music substituted for 2001, with the exception that we're so used to seeing it as it is in the film, if you could wipe that out of your mind and then use the Alex North score, I think you'd be equally as impressed, because the man was a genius. It has the vibe that you want from 2001 and what was necessary. He did not. He wrote the orchestral pieces. He did not write the atmospheres music. That was written. I can't remember the guy's name. That remained in the film. That was composed for the film. He was selected because of that type of score. All of the 2000 the monolith music that was created was preserved and used in the film. So I think music does play an interesting part. Now, somebody else mentioned, and I think, was it Sean? I think it was Sean mentioned the 24 frames per second and the smoothing. I didn't see that because I'm a bad boy. I left my television set to image smoothing, so everything looks like that, and I really should turn it off. Being the film fan that I am, that is not the way to watch films. So everything looks like it's on videotape to me, unfortunately. So I missed that because my television set smoothed it all out for me. So I didn't see the herky-jerky that might go, or the 24 frames per second, which, by the way, I think is probably the better way to see films. But that's it's sort of how we also, potentially, that's just the way we see movies, and our best memories watching films in theaters give you that sort of that momentary blurring. And I think it was Gladiator was the first time I saw where the picture did not blur at all, and that just kind of threw me for a loop on a big screen like that. And I thought, God, the picture's so clear in every single image, and that doesn't look right. And I still kind of feel that way, but I've gotten so used to it anymore, I don't notice it. And then finally, sequels. I was thinking, we were talking about Short Circuit 2 and the fact that the meaning goes away. We saw that even in 2010, although it was a good film. It had some weirdness to it with the constantly changing days in film, which I don't recall was in the books. So I don't know. That kind of threw me. And then the Terminator movies and Alien movies have gone completely terrible in recent years. When you look at Alien and Aliens, the sequel, actually Aliens, is pretty good, maybe even better than the original. But then it went south pretty quickly after that. Okay, let me go ahead and ask, since we've had this kind of interesting third round, does anybody have any additional things they want to say before I announce the next movie? Please come with your call, and I'll put down a list.
In V5F.
Okay, NV5F. Virginia, you get the final word. Go ahead.
Okay, I always have something to say, and I have a few parting shots, but I'll try to keep them brief. So, you brought up smoothing. Most TVs have that as a default setting, and the first thing I do when I get a new TV is go in and destroy it. Not only for movies, but most TV shows are shot at 24 frames per second film speed style, and that I don't know why anyone who designs or manufactures TVs would think anyone would want everything to look like that. It's horrible. I've actually gone to other people's houses and gone on their TVs and changed it because I can't stand it. And I did know about Alex North and the 2001 soundtrack, and believe it or not, in all my days I have not sought it out to listen to it, but I have found it on YouTube. I'm going to give it a listen. You made me very curious, and I can't believe that as much as I love music and 2001 that I've never listened to it. So that's going to be interesting. Let's see, what else do I have here? There's a couple other things. I'm trying to read my handwriting, believe it or not. Oh, you were saying something about, us not liking a movie soundtrack, and that meaning that, like, the average audience wouldn't like it. But we're kind of I don't know if I think we're all outliers here. So I think average audiences, a lot of times just things have changed gradually, and I think a lot of times average audiences don't even think about it. They just take what they're given, and this is the style that a lot of movies use now, and I think most people would just sit through it and probably not even notice it. But I notice how, things, I'm the kind of person that wants to feel kind of safe and engaged and wants to like the characters. If I like a story, I want to feel more engaged in it and warmed by it, and that kind of music to me kind of holds me at arm's length. But a lot of the movies are filmed in a dreary, dark style, and I think that music can sort of seem to complement that style, and this movie is no exception. It's kind of all in muted tones. A lot of it's just kind of, it's not badly shot. It's actually, the production values are pretty high, and I did appreciate the general just quality, and like Sean said, even that just the ambient audio and stuff is done well. So, it was obviously done by people who knew what they were doing. The editing was good. The handheld kind of documentary camera feel is common now, too. But anyway, as far as music goes, I think a lot of people will just be okay with that kind of music because it's everywhere now. And to me, it just makes everything, like, it makes all of entertainment sort of a minefield where I've got to kind of negotiate through and very carefully pick what I'm going to put, spend my time on or consume, because I am kind of impressionable. I want something that's going to kind of inspire me and give me more energy and not just kind of suck the life out of me. So I'm very, very thoughtful about just the visual tone and the audible sort of musical overall, tone of the audio and the music of something I'm watching as well. So anyway, and then you talk about sequels. There's so many billions of sequels. I was just trying to find something to watch the other day, and I put on one of the bazillion Transformers movies, and I found it unwatchable. I got 20 minutes into it, and I was like, this is so stupid and impossible to follow, and that's all they make anymore is sequels. It's hard to find anything that can just captivate you by being something you've never seen before, and the only Transformers movie I think is worth watching at all is Bumblebee, because it's basically a movie that takes place in 1987, and whoever made it decided to basically make it into an 80s movie, and I really like it. It's a little bit dark in places, like dreary looking, but overall the music's pretty good, and it really is like watching an 80s movie with really, really high special effects budget, and so if you want to see a Transformers movie, that's the only one I can recommend. That's it for me tonight. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Tom, for running the net K5ICX. This is NV5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia, and thanks for your comments. And that's true. You're right. We are outliers. We're probably more critical. Why would we sit here and talk about a movie at, 10:30 at night, going to midnight? Not many people would do that. In fact, most people wouldn't. And we care about our viewing experience. We want to see if while we watch terrible films, we learn something from them as well. Why are they terrible? What went wrong? And we also, celebrate good films, the ones that really worked and inspired us or grabbed us emotionally. So it's perfectly okay. And me, and I agree with you, music is a major component to that. And I think it's kind of unfortunate that you're right, that people have finally grown so used to just kind of these less than stellar scores, although they still exist. There's still some really great composers out there that do music for motion pictures, and some of the old, the Golden Age people, of course, have been long gone. The Silver Age is almost gone. I think the last one there would be John Williams, who was the youngest of the Silver Age composers, and he's the last that's still around. So, any rate, I have to say, I agree. I think motion picture scores are really important.
Elvis,
the building. Just no two ways about it. Okay, next week's movie is, talk about popular. Here we go. Hang on. Don't roll your eyes. It is a reboot. This one is Star Trek from 2009 with Chris Pine and, I don't know, those other people, the young kids. Who aren't young kids anymore because it was 2009 when that movie came out. Seems like only yesterday. That's because we're old. And I'll send the email out sometime in the morning with that info. I have a bunch of new movies in the queue. If you've got something you want to see and you just remind me. I need to go back and look through some of my notes here to find out. I think there was Heartbeats was one that people wanted to see. I'll see if I can find that baby somewhere. That was on the list of requests. So with that, I'll say good night to everybody. I'm going to go watch Lost in Space Part 2. Part 2 of The Keeper, the only two-part Lost in Space from the original series. See y'all later. This is KE5ICX. I am now clear. See y'all.